to. But I've noticed in my own personal life, since I am a human being and I do make moral choices, that this argument really has a personal effect to it. That when we stand here and we talk about these ideas, it's sometimes easy to say that there isn't a God or that there is a God. But the implications behind these ideas a lot of times can be so heavy that they can weigh on our minds to influence us to believe things that are unreasonable or untrue. And what I am specifically getting at is that if we do agree with the premise that there is a God and that He is moral, we also have to agree that our lives live in direct opposition to the moral commands that He has given to us. And that's a pretty scary proposition. So I was wondering if you maybe had comments on that to share with us about how it is that we can, I guess, go about maybe removing our own biases of that scary thought in order to come to a true conclusion.
Yeah. All right, let me make a couple of comments on this because I think you've raised several interesting points. First of all, for those of you who were here last night, I shared 7 arguments for God's existence, one of which was the moral argument, which I've developed more fully tonight. And my favorite argument is the cosmological argument. That's the argument that really turns my crank. But I find that with students, many of them don't connect with the cosmological argument. But I find it's the moral argument, this argument, that really connects with people. Because you can blow off the cosmological argument or ignore the philosophical contingency argument or the ontological argument, but you can't escape the moral argument. Because every day you wake up, you answer the question, do I think there are objective moral values and duties by how you live? Are you going to live as though other people are ends in themselves, or as they are merely means to be used for your ends? So that this moral argument really hits us where we live. We cannot answer or escape its demands, and we have to answer the argument. If not verbally, we answer it by our behavior and how we choose to live. So I do think that this would be an illustration, I think, of the point you were making, that this is an argument that really has deep existential significance. Now, the further point that you make is an interesting theological one, namely, if we do grant that there are objective moral values and duties, then this immediately confronts us with the terrible realization that I haven't fulfilled my moral duties. I haven't lived up to the moral demands that a holy God would put on me. I haven't loved my neighbor as myself. I've done and thought and said things that are selfish, cruel, petty, and mean-spirited. And therefore, I find myself with moral guilt and needing to be cleansed and forgiven. And so it does carry with it this realization. It also might mean, gee, I'm going to have to change my lifestyle if I want to bring it into conformity with the moral law. And that can be hard to do because, as I said, self-interest and temptation run in the face of morality many times. But if we take seriously the existence of a holy God who holds us morally accountable for our actions, I think that can provide real incentive for saying, I need to get right with God, basically, and to seek His forgiveness and His moral cleansing, and to seek His strength for changing me from the inside out, to transform my life so that I become a better person and I grow to be more and more like Him and replicate His character in me. And as a Christian, I believe that this happens through Jesus Christ. I think that Christ died on the cross to pay the penalty for my wrongdoing, and that as I allow Him to live out His life in me, He changes my character to be more like His, so that I will become a better person. So I think that you're right, that this question of the objective nature of moral values and duties has profound theological ramifications that need to be faced.